Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to part 3 of our Ramadan series. So far, we've had 2 parts. So the first one we focused on taqwa, and the second one we focused on gratitude. And so in this one, we will be focusing on another element of Ramadan as we're getting into the last 10 days of Ramadan. Do you want to briefly tell us what the first 2 were for those who missed it?
Okay, there's 3 key things we have to practice in Ramadan. So we are apportioning that to first 10 days, middle 10 days, and last 10 days. The first one was learning taqwa, as Qur'an says in chapter 2, verse 183, that it's a competence in restraining oneself, self-restraint, or learning how to do that in practice. And also acclimation of the body to a new hormonal system through fasting. And hopefully with both of these, we learn to control ourselves. And once we learn to control ourselves, our heart opens up to spiritual experiences. And also, particularly, the second one is learning gratitude.
Yeah.
Because in chapter 2, verse 185, the verse finishes with, so that you may learn how to give gratitude. And we said that we can practice that. Fasting is the best form of, showing gratitude for the wonderful blessings that Allah has endowed us with, and that we can practice that with identifying 3 things that we can be grateful about every day. And also inviting people to break fast with us, open up our heart, sharing that gratitude with hospitality, being more hospitable to other people. So because at the end of the day, Islam is about establishing a connection with ourselves, with our own spirit, by establishing a relationship with our Creator, and also establishing good relations and displaying good behaviors towards other people. So if we can do that, we become a good human being, which what Islam wants from us, like spiritual. So we'll be happy in this world, and inshallah we'll be happy in the afterlife as well. So that brings us to the third block of 10 days.
Yes, day 20 to 30 or thereabouts, yeah. So, okay, what is special about these days, or what should we be focusing on these last 10 days? And I should say, by this point, I feel like a lot of the time people are getting used to it, they've gotten into it, and they're starting to feel that it's coming to an end. So, while at the beginning there's this anxiety of how will I go, how will I do it, by this time there's this sadness that it is actually coming to an end. But how do we make the most out of these last 10 days?
Okay, the last 10 days, we're now ready to have a deeper connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that requires some sort of solitude. That's why the Prophet ﷺ did itikaf in the last 10 days. He retreated into the mosque. Like Islam is a religion, it's a public religion. It's not, there's no monk or, kind of a roles in Islam. You don't withdraw from society completely. You live your life in society, but your heart connected to the Creator at the same time. So the only thing that comes close to retreat is the itikaf in the last 10 days of Ramadan. Because now we've done 20 days of fasting, learned self-control, learned gratitude, our heart is now open fully to our Creator. So we need to make best of that. So I think we need to create time and spaces for ourselves in the last 10 days to withdraw from into some sort of a seclusion. In a mosque, obviously, ideally. But if we cannot do 10 days, we can do a number of days that we can afford. Even if it's one day, we should do itikaf.
Yeah, I guess we shouldn't think all or nothing. I think that's an important point. Sometimes we think, I can't do it, I've got work commitments, or I've got young kids. But the idea is to at least do, even if it's bits here and there, or one day, as you said, one night at the mosque. Whatever you can, it's better than doing nothing, isn't it?
Yeah, look, we take time off from work for holidays.
Yes.
Cruises, like whatever you can think about, a trip to Europe or something. to the beach, we can take time off for itikaf or for our Creator or for ourselves.
That's a good point. And it's something I've seen in some individuals recently where they will take the last 10 days off work. They will actually get leave from work. And it's not a common practice, I feel, in our community, but maybe it's going that way. But why don't we, as you said, take those 10 days off? If we can take 10 days off a cruise, I'm sure we can manage our work on those 10 days as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you do it now, if you're watching this, you're in the last 10 days, hopefully you should be more attuned to taking time off. But it needs to be, just arrange it with your boss.
Yes.
Like if it cannot be 10 days, just take 3 days. 2 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Sunday is the weekend. Anyway, you can have 4 days.
Okay.
So basically, we have to learn to abandon things in life as well in order to get more. I think this is an important area. And we shouldn't think, what am I going to do in the mosque? If we're thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do in the mosque for 4 days? That means we're not ready for something like this. Or maybe we haven't done the first 10 days, first 20 days hasn't been done properly. I really think it should come to you naturally. This need to withdraw into seclusion. If it doesn't come naturally, don't. You can always repeat it next year, but we have to keep on practicing. So this is the one thing: a deep connection with the Creator. Second thing is connection with the Qur'an in a deeper way, because in chapter 2, verse 185, the Qur'an says, "Qur'an has been revealed in Ramadan, and there's Laylatul Qadr in Ramadan." Yes. Which is the day or time that Qur'an started to be revealed. And that the verse says that Qur'an, which is a guidance to you, to humanity and to you particularly. So for us to be guided, we need to fully submit to Islam and to Qur'an and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like, for example, if you go to a coach, let's say you're training, right, for something, and that for a match, and then your coach says you have to do what I tell you. You have to submit to that. If you don't, if you object to coach all the time, don't listen, he's going to leave you, or you're not going to get the results that you want. So the primary purpose of a coach is to discipline you and guide you through the process.
And for your growth, to facilitate your growth.
Exactly, so that you can reach your full potential. So in a way, like Qur'an is a coaching manual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a spiritual coach. The Prophet ﷺ is a trainer, So we have to submit to that. And the best is to engage with the Qur'an, because that's the source of guidance for us in a deep and meaningful way. And I suggest that we can start from the beginning of Ramadan, but I think last 10 days we'll get most out of it. That we can memorize passages from the Quran, even like a single verse per every day means 10 verses in the last 10 days of Ramadan. Something practical we can do. We can read 10 pages of Quran a day with translation if you don't know Arabic. Like, we should know the translation and say what the Quran is telling me. 10 pages a day means 100 pages. That's a significant portion of the Quran. And the Quran repeats itself in a good way. Like, you're not going to miss out, you're going to get majority of Quran's message in 100 pages. So it's like reading the entire book, inshallah. So I think we need to do that, engage with the Quran, engage with the Arabic original through memorization, like verses here and there. It can be easily done, and reading passages of the Quran. And if you're doing the itikaf, you've got the time to do that as well. Yeah. So even if you don't, just spare an hour a day or something on this, maybe after Fajr or after whenever it's convenient for you. But there's a third aspect to the last 10 days.
Okay, what's that?
Well, third aspect to last 10 days is learning to control our speech.
Right.
Because there's 2 hadith in this respect where the Prophet ﷺ said, Like whoever tells a lie or acts upon it, Allah does not need you to, stop eating and drinking. Allah doesn't need that. So controlling the speech is very important. So in another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, fasting is a shield. So whoever is fasting and they come across some sort of a person, they shouldn't indulge in obscene language or display anger, through speech. And if people, come and attack or insult or something, they should say, I'm just fasting. So both of these hadiths is about speech, not lying, not using obscene language or not showing anger. Because language is the one that we really hurt people around us. And that we need to learn to control that, communicate better. Because the Prophet ﷺ defined Muslim in another hadith as someone who can control their actions and their words. So we control our actions by fasting, gives us that practice, like taqwa gives us that. But the speech part is the one that we really need to practice as well.
Sure, and I think with the speaking, you said it can cause a lot of damage to other people, but it can also cause a lot of damage to our spiritual heart. So it could do a lot of undo a lot of good that we're trying to accumulate through Ramadan. So it seems it's a very important part of
exactly.
our behavior.
A very important part of our behavior is like that we can speak well, but also it's the mark of a perfect person. Like if a person can control their speech, like speak in the best possible way, not obscene, not getting angry too much, or not lying, then you made it. Like you made it to you become a really fantastic person. I also, this kind of sensitivity towards other people makes us more compassionate towards other people. We really show understanding to their situation, and we can treat them well as well. Because if we can think about, okay, I shouldn't be hurting this person with my words, surely you're not going to hurt them with your actions as well. I'd just like to maybe finish with a hadith related to fasting, which is really nice. And it also shows the consideration that the Prophet ﷺ was showing to his companions and the leniency that he was showing, and also the flexibility that exists in Islam, in terms of religious practices. And this is another thing, by the way. In Islam, there is emphasis in religious practices that there's a compulsion, you should do it. There's an expectation on to do it. But also there's flexibility if we're not able to do it.
Sure.
So, for example, if a person's unable to fast because they're sick or on travel, they can make up for it later. If they have terminal illness or something, they don't have to fast. They pay fidya, which is a charity that they pay for every day for 30 days. When you don't have water for ablution, you can do it with sand. There's always some sort of alternative. Like we don't abandon it either.
That's right.
So it's a very nice combination of, insistence, compulsion, but also flexibility as well. The story goes like this. One of the companions came to the Prophet, peace be upon him. We don't know his name because the hadith doesn't record it. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I've done a bad thing. I had intercourse with my wife while I was fasting. What do I do? And the Prophet ﷺ says, do you have a slave that you can free? I guess he's thinking of a compensation, right? Mm-hmm. He says, no, I don't. He said, well, can you feed 60 people for that as a compensation? He goes, I can't. I don't have the means to do so. Then he said, wait then. So after a while, the Prophet comes with a bucket full of dates. He says, take this and go pay it as charity, as a compensation for your breaking of the fast. Then he looks at it and he says, Ya Rasulullah, between these two rocks of Medina, I'm the poorest one in the city. And the Prophet smiles and he says, go and take it, give it to your family.
Oh, wow.
So he came breaking his fast, expecting a penalty or something. He goes home with a bucket full of dates.
Just shows the compassion and the
Yeah.
understanding, I guess. And he must have been genuinely remorseful for what he did. So very powerful.
I think that kind of understanding of Prophet, peace be upon him, is what we need to have as individuals. And I think fasting gives us that, learning taqwa, being grateful, being hospitable to other people, but also learning to control, speech, engaging with Quran so that, like submitting to the Quran so that Quran can guide us to become a better person. If we don't, then we turn Islam into who we are, which is a concoction of the religion.
Yeah. Whereas Islam should turn us into, I guess, help us to realize our potential. That summary is a very good way to end that third session. We hope that the last 10 days of Ramadan are fruitful for you. Please keep us in your du'as as well, and see you next time. Assalamu alaikum.